All right. Well, welcome everyone to Paddle Chat. My name is Chris Carragher. I am the founder of Seacoast Paddleboard Club. For those of you who are unfamiliar with Seacoast Paddleboard Club, we are in fact a social club in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. We were founded in 2015, and we have just shy of about 100 members that actively paddle year-round in Maine, New Hampshire, Massachusetts, and Vermont. Before we kick off, if you've joined us for any of our podcasts or webinars, you know that we always give a pause and say thank you. Thank you to our first responders, our essential employees out there during this pandemic. We have a lot of club members that are actually on the front lines right now and that can't be with us, so they are in our thoughts. Couple of housekeeping tips. This paddle chat is being recorded. So for quality purposes, all the participants are on mute. However, if you have a question, and we definitely encourage questions, this is going to be a pretty interactive chat with Evelyn. Really excited about this. I'd ask you to use the QA chat feature, and myself or Evelyn will get to your question. That being said, tonight is open mic night with Evelyn O'Doherty from Standup Journal. Evelyn is the editor and publisher of the Standup Journal, a global hub for paddling news and information. Standup Journal is committed to changing the world by inspiring people a love of water and recreational water sports by encouraging them to become stewards to protect it. In her role as editor and publisher, O'Doherty heads the team that publishes a quarterly print magazine that brings the water to people when they can't physically get there. In it, they highlight the people and the brands that are using the power of water sports for the greater good, protecting the environment and inspiring folks to live their best lives on water. Evelyn's team, including associate publisher Russ Scully and creative director Jeff Henderson, have redesigned the look of the Stand-Up Journal to modernize this perfect bound, glossy, image-rich magazine into a coffee table edition that is a collector's item in every issue. Evelyn O'Doherty also serves as press officer for the APP World Tour. She travels with the APP team, the Association of Paddle Surf Professionals, to multiple tour stops around the globe, writing articles, offering live on-camera athlete interviews, and working with the APP staff to advance the professional sports of stand-up paddleboard racing and surfing. Prior to purchasing the Stand-Up Journal, O'Doherty spent 8 years leading the charge on the East Coast sub-racing circuit, competing in events from Puerto Rico to Vermont, offering clinics and stroke technique and to sub racing. She also hosts annual sup, surf, and yoga retreats in Puerto Rico and Barbados. Before becoming a stand-up paddler racer, O'Doherty spent 12 years in the New York public school system, teaching high school English and middle school English language arts. She has a love for storytelling and draws stories out of individuals in order to inspire others. Evelyn is based on Long Island and can be found most mornings paddling in South Gardner's Bay or charging the surf with friends at Ditch Plains Beach in Montauk. With that, I'm really honored and excited to turn it over to Evelyn O'Doherty. Evelyn, welcome. Glad to have you.
Hey, Chris. Thanks so much for having me on the Paddle Chat. I've been looking forward to this one a lot. You know, I'm a big fan of New England paddling and New England paddlers. I say that from the heart. You know, when I was really active in stand-up paddle racing, there were races everywhere, all over the Northeast, and I met a whole lot of people that have become lifelong friends. And we had a lot of fun, man. You know, I mean, some of those races are, I'm just thinking off the top of my head, the Sound Surfer in Connecticut, certainly Paddle for Plumber in Massachusetts. I don't think I ever did one actually in New Hampshire. You know, there was Paddle to the Point in Maine, and Rhode Island, right, the Newport Sup Cup. Anyway, it's just so many, you know, and as we all know, that stand-up paddle races are truly a gathering of the tribe, and the friendships I've made on the water are, you know, as we were saying yesterday, just some of the best I've ever made in my life. And I've also just have a huge affinity for your area up in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. Every year I get a chance, when I get a chance to get away, I run for Kittery. And I spend my time up in Kittery Point. I have a little secret hideaway that I go to, and I just literally spend a week to myself, surfing, paddling, just exploring nature, loving the people that I interact with up there, and just enjoying every minute. So it's just really exciting for me because I have so much love for the area that, you know, I know that the Seacoast Paddle Club is based in. And I'm just eager to, you know, just to talk and share and get to know everybody a little bit better.
Yeah, I mean, we are really fortunate to live where we live. You know, when you're talking about Kittery, one of my favorite paddles is Brave Boat Harbor. I mean, that's just a killer paddle, winding through the S-turns right out to this open. And I mean, on a good day, you can surf right off the point. It's just a unique experience. So that's awesome.
Just gorgeous. I mean, what you guys have up there, I mean, where I live is absolutely stunning, right? There's no question about it. But you know, it's just fun to go away. And when I go away, like personally, like when I go on vacation, that's where I head, is right up to you guys. And so anyway, so it's just fun to connect, because next time I do that, as soon as, you know, the restrictions here from COVID lift and we can all sort of intermingle again without having to go into 2-week quarantine, I'm coming up, you know, and I would love to come on one of the paddles that you put together, because they sound rich and diverse, and your crew just sounds amazing.
It is a great, I mean, we're fortunate we have a great group of people, and obviously it's an open invitation to anyone. We'd be honored to have you. We'd be stoked to paddle with you, so for sure. You know, one of the things you touched on earlier was, you know, the race. Let's talk a minute about the racing, you know, because the events really is a gathering of the tribes. And right now in COVID, you know, there's a lot of heavy, like, let's do this, and then you back off, and you know, you see a couple of races even this week, like, hey, we think we're going to do it, and then it's like, you know what, we can't. So I think the innovation that's come out of this, I mean, webinars, podcasts, whatever you want to call it, people are gathering, and it's just really cool to see how the industry has kind of evolved, I guess, to keep that tribe together. But I'd love to hear your thoughts on kind of the events.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I think it's fascinating what the stand-up paddle industry in particular has chosen to do as a result of COVID-19. You know, I mean, we all wound up, you know, sort of in lockdown and all over the world, right? It's not just here in the US, but like all over the world. And because it's such a tribe, you know, we know each other online anyway, right? There's, you know, we were talking yesterday about Maggie Adams and Sup Chat, and certainly Stand-Up Journal, and, you know, just a lot of the hubs, Paddle Monster, you know, where people come together. And because we're connected digitally anyway, that just exploded as a result of the lockdown. And I don't know of, like, that didn't happen in basketball, you know, but it certainly happened with stand-up paddling. And now we have this beautiful sort of, you know, arrangement of incredible ways to stay in touch, you know, whether it's podcasts like this, or, you know, online challenges, or like I just started an online training group, you know, as sort of a, yeah, it's just not public, it's not private, but it's just not public. An online training group with Annabelle Anderson. Like, it's just, there's been really incredible opportunities to come together in new, novel, and I want to say like even more intimate ways, because now we have time, right? We're not just showing up at a race, which is always great, right? It's always a stoke fest to see everybody. But oftentimes what I've seen is like we go to a race, we race, we hang out for the awards, and everybody goes home. You know, it's a 4-hour event, not much more than that. But here, I just feel like I've gotten to know so many people, you know, yourself included, so much better, because we have time to sit down and chat, and we're chatting online, and we're sharing photos and learning about other aspects of each other's lives besides being on the water. And, you know, I'm not just being sort of like hyper positive here, but I've just found that to be super cool, you know, and I've enjoyed that slowdown and that outreach, through social media and the digital world very much. So I think we're doing okay, all things considered.
Yeah. And I think it's okay to be hyper positive, for sure.
Okay,
I think we need more of that, quite honestly.
all right, permission granted. Excellent.
Yeah, sweet. But yeah, I mean, some of the events. Let's talk about some of the events that we're seeing. That have making that leap to digital. You see a lot. Paddle Monster was always kind of doing her thing, doing really well with getting people, their kind of tribe, of getting out there and clocking their miles and sharing that, which is awesome.
Yep.
But I see now we have like the actual physical events going online. We see Paddle for a Cure, for instance. I saw that the other day. And that's awesome. I mean,
it is awesome.
It just broadens, it lets more people a seat at the table. So, and I think that's what the sport really needs right now too. So I think we're going to come out of this stronger, quite honestly, in a weird way.
Chris, I love that, and that attitude. And I do too. I mean, it's given the burgeoning sport of stand-up paddling, right? We're still in the growth phase in my perspective. It's given us a chance to pause and decide how we're going to move from here. I mean, it's given the whole world that opportunity, but I really see it working with stand-up paddling, in terms of people refining what are people looking for, in podcasts, and Seychelle out there who's just charging, with her super technique tips and doing those every week, and Paddle Monster just really embracing their community. It's extraordinary, and I just want to tell this quick story before I talk about the events. But my deepening of my relationship to stand-up paddling literally happened because it was before Paddle Monster, right? Before Paddle Monster was a part of that group, it was called the 100-100 Club, right? And the 100-100 Club, for those of us back in the day, was run by goddess woman Lisa Shell, right? And Lisa Shell is the most loving, excited, passionate paddler. And it was just a Facebook group where, you could post pictures of you paddling, and everybody, and I mean everybody, would like cheer and tell you were awesome, right? Like that was pretty much the 100-100 Club. And one year when I was really just beginning to get deeper into paddling, and especially year-round paddling here in New York, the 100-100 Club challenge, paddle challenge, was to paddle 100 miles in 100 days. And it started on January 1st. And I don't know if you remember, but that was the winter that like the ocean turned to ice.
Yes.
Right? Like we had the Arctic freeze that just locked in, the bays froze over, literally there was slush flow in the ocean. And that 100-100 Club, like that challenge where I could squeak in like 2 miles and then post my picture and everybody would cheer, like it just got me so motivated, to complete this 100 miles in 100 days. And I did it, I did it. And it was like, for me, it was a big accomplishment because that winter was so challenging. And there was so much of the logistics of how to figure out what to wear to paddle in sub-zero temperatures. I mean, it was really insane. And I loved it. And that was an online challenge, right? It was an online challenge that was literally a Facebook group where you posted a photo every day. And, so I think that we have something really special here in terms of how we're using social media, how we're using, the digital world. And then now what I see happening with, the events that are going virtual, I just personally, I think it's brilliant. I mean, I signed up to do the virtual M2O this year, which is, everybody stays at home and does your own paddle, and you do 16 miles and record your time and have some kind of footage, right? Whether it's video or photo, and that you're actually going to compete against other people, right? You compete against time and conditions and things like that. And I just thought, like, heck yeah, like if I have an opportunity to participate in this event, I've never had a chance to go and actually get into the Channel of Bones. I'm all for it, and if you register before June 15th, they're going to send you your M2O t-shirt and you get the hat swag. And man, I think that's the best idea ever. And I'm surprised that more events haven't decided to go digital like that. So I too was really happy to hear about Stand Up for the Cure, that they were offering the opportunity for people to take to the water and to continue to do their fundraising in their own backyard. Because I think it's an opportunity lost if we don't try and have more digital events this year, because it sure seems like there's not a lot actually going to happen, and even in the Northeast, I heard about an event, I think it was yesterday when you and I were talking, and literally like it was on, and then I got an email and it was just, it's off, and another one, it's on, it's off, so I think there's a lot of fun to be had in, participating in your own backyard, but still connecting with the larger community through some sort of, digital networking. It's cool. And again, basketball's not doing that.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking yesterday. I think we're going to give it a go. One of the highlights of the Paddleboard Club here in New Hampshire is our Tuesday night community paddles. That's kind of like the event, right? Everyone comes out Tuesday night, and it's all different paddlers, all different skill levels. You have, people asking, am I holding my paddle correctly? When you have people that are training, like Nick and a couple others that are like training for like Chattajack or whatever. But I think we're going to take a different approach. We had last week we were on with Lily Colby from MTI, and we were really talking about PFDs and how to really make the investment in safety, which was awesome. A lot of good value there for the people that tuned in. So I think what we came up with, and I worked kind of socialize this with the group, is having 3 different time slots, a 5 o'clock, a 5:30, and a 6 o'clock, having someone from the club as like an ambassador or whatever, kind of lead that, and minimizing it. You have to register to save your space, but minimizing it to 9-10 people max, and obviously social distance and using masks. So we're going to give it a go on Tuesday. I mean, to try and get some semblance of normalcy, but obviously safety. I mean, we preach safety. I mean, we are a safety culture. You hear me say that time and time again. But yeah, so I'll keep you posted on how that works out. It would be interesting.
I love it. I mean, I love it. I'd love to hear how that works out, because I have a feeling, Chris, you're gonna have a waiting list.
I think so.
Right? Because people, they want to get on the water. I mean, it's definitely that way here in New York. Because stand-up paddling is in this crazy time we're having, it is a relatively safe outdoor recreational activity. We're having a big boom. I mean, I know that a lot of the stores, the surf shops, like they couldn't even get their orders because of COVID-19.
Right.
But even so, the ones that did receive some orders are completely sold out.
Yep.
Because people are just buying up paddle boards left and right. And when I look online, that's what I see right now, is everybody's looking for a new board, or somebody's, a new board for them. And I really want to touch on what you said about safety right now, because I know you guys are amazing, and this is, this present company excluded, right? Because safety is so important. I really just want to put a shout out there to people who maybe are coming to the water for the first time. To be really cognizant of what you're doing, right? To take the time to go out with an established, hopefully, certified instructor or paddler to learn a little bit about water safety and rescue procedures, because this time of year in June is predominantly the time when paddlers get into the most trouble, right? Our wind is usually offshore. It's a little unpredictable because, the water is cooler, but the land heats up. And when the land heats up, the wind picks up. And I don't know if, a couple of years ago, we had a couple of really bad incidences, where paddlers got pushed offshore in Connecticut and got, sent to New York pretty much, which is just a bad scene to come across the Long Island Sound. So just, for paddlers to really understand what they're doing, when you actually step onto a board and you leave shore, because there's a lot of factors. There's a lot of, unpredictabilities going on out there. And we all just need to be super aware, and we need to be super aware for each other. I can't tell you, when I paddle out here in Gardner's Bay, I must pluck, I don't know, 7, 8 people out of the bay every summer, like literally tow them in or teach them how to paddle themselves in. And because they're rented aboard at a place that shall not be named, and with no instruction, and then the offshore wind, like you're headed for Montauk Point, it's big ocean out there. So, I just need to say that out loud because it's on my mind a lot right now. It has been very gusty, and we all just need to be super aware that it's good to know your limits, know about how to paddle safely, and also just to keep an eye on one another.
Yeah, and just if I may to extend on that thought, it's really how quickly the conditions can change.
Sure.
So it's, coming back from last year when we were doing the iOS Invitational at the Isle Shoals, we were out there, we got out in record time. I think we got there in like an hour and a half, hour and 40 minutes out to the shoals. We all come back, and all we saw was a black wall of clouds.
Oh no.
And it was like playing a game of Jenga. We're go south, one cell will go this way, lightning, thunder. It was pretty gnarly for a while. Fortunately, we had obviously enough safety boats. We did actually have to extract people. Every paddler got off the water at one point. It's just like, just go. So, but again, safety and just being mindful.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, I've been paddling for a while, and, on my best days, I think I'm a pretty good paddler, but even, I can't remember if I told you this story about maybe not this past winter, but the winter before that. I like to paddle early in the morning when the wind is light. So I went out one day in March in New York, and I went down to the water, and it was beautiful. It was sheet glass. The sun was rising. The colors are dancing on the water, and I did everything wrong, right? I did everything wrong. I looked at the water, and I got really impatient. I just wanted to get out there because it was so beautiful. So I have a really expensive dry suit, which I didn't put on that day, right? I had my yoga clothes on, and I was like, oh, it's fine. It's flat glass. I'll be fine. And I took off, and, I was on my race board, and I went probably the furthest distance, on that day that I was going to get from my truck, which was about 3.5 miles. And when I did just what you said, when I did the turnaround, I remember being like, whoa, the water looks a little textured over. And I think that's about as far as that thought go before I got hit by a side wind that came out of nowhere. And it picked up so fast, Chris. It picked up so fast. Within 5 minutes, it was blowing, I want to say it was blowing, no kidding, like 20, 25 knots, side shore to me. I had 3.5 miles to go. It was March. The wind was cold. The water was freaking cold. I didn't have the appropriate gear on. And I was up a creek, and, whatever. I was like, here I go. I'm going to do it. And I fell in a couple of times, just got knocked off my board. So I was wet. I was in the wind, and I had to keep paddling. And by the time I made it back to my truck, it was a complete, what? And by the time I got back to my truck, my husband had showed up because he saw the wind switch. So he came to just check on me. But by the time I got there, I was slurring my words. I couldn't get my board up over my truck because I was shaking so bad. And I just realized, like, I'm a complete idiot, for doing that, because, I'm a teacher. Like, that's what I talk to people about. But that day, I was a little distracted. I wanted to just go play because it looked so pretty. And that day, the water schooled me. So it was a good reminder. Now I wear my dry suit no matter what, and leave a float plan and all of those safety procedures that are so important.
Yeah, I mean, like you said earlier, June is a really interesting month. It is, because the air is so warm. You're like, oh, I could just do it. But that water, it's still pretty cold up here. I know. I was out sup surfing. I know we want to talk about sup surfing a little bit too. The other day, and it was definitely still chilly.
Yeah, up where you are, I'll bet.
Mm-hmm.
I'll bet. Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about sup surfing if you want. Favorite place to surf? That's a loaded question.
It is. So, I mean, I'm really blessed, so I'm out here on the east end of Long Island, right? So I don't actually live in the village of Montauk, but I live in Amagansett, which is the village right before the village of Montauk. So that's where I spend most of my time is out east. And for me, I mean, literally, I think my favorite place on the planet, and I've been around a little bit, my favorite place on the planet to surf is called North Bar out here, which is literally right underneath the lighthouse in Montauk. It's the tip of Long Island. And when we get a swell that's big enough, and has a little southeast in it, it wraps around the point at the lighthouse, and it creates this right-handed wave that when you're surfing it, it's really cool because you're surfing away from shore. Like you're looking out at open ocean as you're, surfing that wave. And when it decides to line up and connect the dots, like you're going for, I don't know what the yardage is, but you're going for a very, very long ride. And when you get off, you have to, think about how the heck you're going to paddle all the way back up to the point. And, but it's beautiful. Like surfing underneath the lighthouse in Montauk is quite an experience. It's really special. The vibe is really good. The wave is a right, which we don't have a lot of those out here. So I love that. And so that's it. And then when I'm not in Montauk, I have a huge affinity, as we spoke about the other day, for Rincon in Puerto Rico. And I go down there several times a year, and I just find that point at Maria's Beach, it's just got my heart and my name on it. Like I could sit there on a 2-foot day. I can get out there when it's firing, and I just feel very welcomed and also challenged, by the wave there. So I love that. What about you? What's your favorite wave?
Oh. Well, I grew up in New Jersey.
Yes.
Manasquan Inlet is always near and dear to my heart because that was like my home break growing up.
Okay.
But I would say, I haven't surfed it enough, but Ruggles on a big day, I really like in Rhode Island.
Yeah.
But up here, being home now and kind of settled for 15 years in New Hampshire, Rye on the Rocks is probably on a good swell. That would be my spot.
That's a really special place, man. Yeah. No, I took a trip last summer. The Hamptons get very crowded, right? I mean, everybody says, yeah. It's like, no, you don't get it. The Hamptons it turns into Manhattan in these little country towns. It's complete chaos in August, right? So generally at some point during the summer, my switch gets flipped and I just have to go. Like I just have to get out of here to catch my breath. Mm-hmm. And last year I did that and I ran for Rhode Island. I went up there, I was gonna camp for a weekend, like maybe 2 nights, and I wound up staying for 2 weeks. And it was amazing. And I surfed from Matunic, right, all the way up the New Hampshire coast and all the way back down. It was one of the best things I've ever done for myself. And Rye on the Rocks is, I mean, it's picturesque, right? It's got a little cove to it, so it's got that little bit of a depth of a wave and an easy paddle out. But
paddle out, yep.
The wave has such shape to it when it's coming in right. I mean, yeah, I hear ya. Let's meet. Let's go up there.
I'm hoping for waves tomorrow. Maybe not big, but something. Even subsurf. So fingers crossed. And watching it like a hawk. But
what are you riding, Chris? Like, what's your subsurf?
I am actually. Now this is an interesting story. I just started subsurfing February. Believe it or not.
No kidding. Okay.
I've always been, shortboard, longboard. But I just started subsurfing. I'm like, I run a paddleboard club. I should probably learn how to subsurf, right?
Sure, makes sense.
And so now I'm riding a 9-foot NSP DCX. It's fun. It's
Right on. Yep.
9 foot, 28 wide, kind of a
Yep.
traditional longboard. It's a lot of fun, and I'm having a blast on it. Although I did try a friend of mine's 7.6 JP Australia,
Whoa, that's a switch.
and it was but it was really stable. And I'm like, oh. And when you drop in, it was like you completely
So
down the
easy.
line, and I'm like, oh, I may have to kind of advance quickly, maybe.
I think a shorter board, you know, people always say for SUP surfing that it seems challenging because there's so much board, right? The boards are so big.
Yep.
But the reality is just what you said. Maybe you learn on a bigger board, but the way to progress is get off of that, like start getting down on shorter boards because the maneuverability is there, and there's just so much more speed in a shorter board, and you actually I think you surf better on a shorter board. So I was lucky enough last year, experience of a lifetime. I just feel so blessed by this one, where I got invited by a group called the SUP Vets to join them on their first retreat in Punta Mita, Mexico. And it was a SUP surfing retreat where these veterans were gathered together. It was free of charge. It's a fundraiser to teach them how to SUP surf as a way to decompress, right? As a way to sort of just, bond together with some of that camaraderie that they've lost when they come back to the, civilian life, and also to give them some ocean connection and ocean skill to help them manage, because most of them are still in service of some kind in their daily lives. But the best part of it, I mean, that's cool. And those guys were unbelievable elite military men. And it was taught by the SUP surfing. Here's where it was. It was taught by the crew from Generation. And that's world champ Sean Pointer, Daniel Hughes, surf legend Ian Cairns, and Felipe Hernandez. And the four of them for a week down in Punta Mita, Mexico, it was mind blowing. It was mind blowing. And the progression that, everybody experienced, but I mean, I can just speak for myself. Like, my progression was so profound over a period of 5 days that I can't recommend like an experience like that enough. I mean, just to have Ian Cairns like watching every wave.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah, he's not always like gentle, but it definitely added a learning curve that I didn't expect. It was super cool.
Yeah, that's definitely all time. That's pretty special.
Yeah. Some good stuff there. We actually have that the write-up on that. I'm just bringing it back to the journal for a minute.
Yeah.
The write-up on that SUP Veterans Retreat is in our spring issue. And if anybody, we have the spring issue still available on our website. And it's a great story. Like it's a nonprofit, the SUP Vets, what they are doing to help veterans is just really motivating and inspirational. So if you get a chance, you see the spring issue, pick it up. It's all in there. It's some good fodder for thought.
No, definitely. And we were talking about this yesterday. I mean, getting out on the water, it is our happy place, right? It's where we go and escape. So, you see so many people that after it's life-changing, really. It's altering. Like when I wouldn't know, we talked about this yesterday. I started surfing when I was 10 years old. Like if I had to start today, like the mechanics and everything, it would be like, oh my God. But, thankfully at an early age, it was like, okay. And now it's like, it has literally taken me down a path in my life where, I have a day job, but like I am so bound by water with this club that it's like, it's really unique. So anytime we do stuff with big brothers, big sisters, like take a little paddling. So anytime you see those opportunities, I definitely encourage people to get on them and be active.
So special. Have you read the book Blue Mind? You must have.
No, I did see you post that on social. Like when I think it was like, I need book ideas, and I saw you post that, and I definitely want to check it out. What's it about?
So Blue Mind, I mean, you already know it. You just told me that you believe in what Blue Mind, speaks about. So Blue Mind is the actual science behind the fact that people who live on or near the water, right? People who spend time in community really with the water have a greater capacity for happiness. And what Blue Mind does is it dives deep into the why that is true. Like, you know, what happens neurologically, what happens with your retina when you take in that color blue, and how that affects the, you know, the rest of your brain, the limbic system in your brain. It is absolutely fascinating. And any water lover just reads the book and nods. The whole time.
That's my next, that will be my next read then.
Yeah, it's easy to do. Like, it's not, I mean, when you know the science of water, it sounds pretty, but it's just, it's written by this guy, Wallace Nichols, who just wants people to know how healthy it is to really just dive into your passion if you have a, you know, a passion for water. That it's one of the best things you can do for yourself.
Cool. I'm gonna pause real quick. Wait, Jace, we just got a comment. Jace just bought the book, so right on, Jace.
Sweet, yeah. I'd love to hear what you think about it. I mean, I'm gonna do I actually want to do like a interview with Wallace Nichols at some point for the magazine, because he just fascinates me. And they have this is one of my geek fests, so just give me a minute. But he actually has a Blue Mind conference every year, and they host it in different places around the planet. And the first year that I heard about it and I read the book, it was literally 2 weeks after they had just had the Blue Mind conference on Block Island.
Oh.
It was so stupid. Like, I missed the boat. You know?
Literally.
But one of my goals is, you know, once COVID is lifted up these restrictions, like, I want to go. I want to go to a Blue Mind conference and sit around with a bunch of geeks just like myself, scientists and writers and doctors, and talk about why the water is, you know, such a healing place. Like, I can't wait. I can't wait. So stay tuned.
And that's another, I mean, nice segue into, I know you have an issue coming out next week.
Yeah.
Right
Yeah.
on. And I know when we were, go ahead. I know when we were talking, when we were talking yesterday, just started surfing, 3-4 months ago, sup surfing.
Right.
But in the last 2.5 years, I've been really getting into paddle fishing. And when you told me this story that's coming out, I mean, I'll go out for striped bass and everything here, but when you were telling me the story that's coming out in the issue, that blew my mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That. So I'm super excited. So a couple of things. The summer issue of Standup Journal is coming out next week, and we're really blessed because Standup Journal, since I took over in 2018, I started working for the magazine in 2016, but I took over as publisher and editor in 2018. It's never been printed in the United States of America. It's always been printed over in Asia. And one of the, you know, positives one could say about COVID-19 is it forced the decision for us to print here in the United States. So I'm so excited because this summer issue that's coming out is the first issue ever of Stand-Up Journal, which has been around for 17 years now. The first time ever that we've been able to bring it home. So it's printed in Iowa, which is where it is right now. And it will be distributed, it should be in subscribers' mailboxes first, hopefully starting sometime next week. And then it will be on newsstands anywhere from the next 2 to 3 weeks. That's always, it just takes a little bit of time. And we're super excited to bring the summer issue of Stand Up Journal to you because, first of all, it was a magazine that was created in the middle of a pandemic. You know, like, it just, the fact that we created anything is, to me, I'm like, whoa, that's amazing. You know, we actually put together a really, really excellent, you know, combination of features. You know, we have the Infinity Surf, is celebrating their 50-year anniversary this year. So we have this really cool, gigantic feature on Infinity Surf with, interviews with Steve Bainey and, just information about Dave Bainey and just some cool spreads and, old ads that they've used. That one's really fun. And then we have a big interview with Eric Logan from the WSL, the World Surfing League, since he just took over as their CEO, which is really cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah, Eric Logan, for those of you who don't know, he's a rabid subsurfer, and he just steps into the main office there at the World Surf League. So it's just a cool, series of events. And then to what you were speaking of, Chris, it's a short snippet in this particular issue, but there's a new movie coming out by Brent Deal, and a lot of people know Brent Deal. He's the guy who made the fantastic film about M2O, actually, called Decade of Dominance, right? Which is the story of Jamie Mitchell winning M2O for 10 straight years. I mean, just an unbelievable feat, and the film footage was just gorgeous and moving and fantastic. And then Brent also made H2O Indo, right, a subsurfing film, and H2O Mexico. So he's back. And this film, I won't say too much about it because it's really special, but this film may be, on a whole nother level than what we've seen from Brent before. And the story he's telling, just a piece of that is it's about this guy, and I won't get into it, but it's about this guy who's like an extreme sports fisherman. And at one point he talks about at one point in his career how he catches this marlin, and he actually gets dragged. I forget what it is. I don't remember how far he gets dragged, but he gets dragged like, I don't know, I want to say at least like 3/4 to a mile, by a marlin, and the boat has to chase him down in order to get him and the fish and, get everybody back on shore or back on the boat. So, I'm pretty excited about the summer issue. There's a lot of good stoke in there, and as always, and I just want to put this out there to the Seacoast Paddleboard Club, as always, like, we are wide open to conversations about what you would like to see, things that you think work, things that you think don't work. Like, I want to know that too, and we print a lot of those letters in the rear of the journal, right? We call them letters from the water lovers. And you're welcome to write in. And the way to do that is you just send an email to editor@standupjournal.com. editor@standupjournal.com. And guess who's going to answer your email? Me.
Perfect.
So please send me a note. I would love to hear from you guys.
I will, yeah. I'm sure there's I could think of at least 5 or 6 people in a club that will take you up on that offer.
Awesome.
So
cool.
I will definitely spread the word out. So yeah, I think I'm excited to check out the summer edition for sure. And getting out of water. Yeah. How long does it take you to put together? I mean, I know it's a quarterly.
Right.
So when
quarterly
it's like,
magazine, so it takes a long time, so it's literally, when you create a magazine, you're creating, in some ways, it's a piece of art, like you're drawing in articles from various sources. You have to have, your photos, they have to be a certain quality of photo. Everything is proofread 1,000 times, right? And then you have to caption the photos, you have to create headings, you name it. So from soup to nuts, it takes a good, I want to say 6 weeks, from beginning to gather information from contributors to swapping different photos, decisions that I make with the team. And then finally, Jeff Henderson is the creative director, and he lays out the whole magazine. And then once it's laid out, it starts to go through a really rigorous review process. So, we get started on it, and it always starts kind of like, oh yeah, this isn't so bad. Like, we've got plenty of time. And then, you know, the 2 weeks before that deadline, like my family doesn't see me. You know, I don't step outside. I don't speak in, you know, English tongue anymore. You know, I'm just obsessed with getting the thing, you know, as cleaned up and beautiful as we can before we have to send it to the printer. So it's a labor of love, and man, we love it. You know, I feel lucky. Like I get to just listen to stories all the time. And then if somebody's able to write or has a, you know, some photos that tell a story, I mean, I get to do that and put it together 4 times a year into this, you know, what we, you know, it's a print magazine Stoke Fest. That
it's beautiful. It absolutely, you do a phenomenal job. So just kudos. It's definitely impressive.
Thanks. We love it. We love it. It's, you know, it's just, it's a way to share. It's a way to share the love of water, really, is what we're doing.
So just got one comment here. Well, all right. I am loving this talk. I am literally building my SUP online fitness website right now and working on eco tourism SUP trips here in Cape Cod and other places. This talk is Chase.
Chase, okay.
So it's cool. I'm kind of looking around. I have the luxury of like looking around the room, and I see a lot of friendly faces and names. And I mean, I can tell you, we have people from Rhode Island, Connecticut, Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, New Hampshire, obviously. It's just really cool.
It's what you have here, Chris, is really cool. Like, you know, I mean, we talked about Stand Up Journal being a hub, and the Seacoast Paddleboard Club is I think the concept of what you're doing here is one of the most successful group paddling experiences that I've heard of, you know, and that you're pulling that off in the Northeast. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Right? But Northeast paddlers do have a certain grit.
Yeah, I would take that, but honestly, I'm kind of blushing here because that's quite a compliment. So thank you. You know, the club is a passion project. It started, we were talking about how this started back in 2013. I paddled out as a solo trip to the Iowa Shoals for Big Brothers Big Sisters. And then I call it the Forrest Gump effect. People just started calling and emailing me. I want to go with you next year. I'm like, next year, I'm done. I'm going back to surfing. And 7, 8 years, 10 years later, it's like, wow, here we are. And it's fun. I mean, we get new members. We just got like 4 or 5 new members within the last couple of days.
Cool.
So I feel blessed to have this because it keeps me sane.
I heard, you know what I mean? Heard and understood completely.
Yeah.
But you know, again, as soon as we get permission to travel without that quarantine, I think actually New Hampshire, you might be there, right? Like, didn't they say that they opened up Hampton? And
Hampton is open. Maine is definitely, they were kind of loosening their 12, 14-day quarantine.
Okay.
Like they're saying. New Hampshire, it was really interesting last week because they opened the beaches for recreation like so many other states, right? And then Governor Sununu, love the guy, hate the guy, whatever, have no opinion of the guy.
Yeah.
I'm going to go on record and say I actually thought he's done a really good job. I mean, he did a really good job. He said, listen to the science. I was like, okay, that makes sense to me. But in one day, it was like, okay, recreational. And then like the next day, it was like, all right, beach is open, have at it. There's still parking restrictions, which is a little weird because you can get to the beach. If you can get to the beach and you can park, you can go sit on the beach. You can do anything you want on the beach. But that has been loosened entirely. The travel, I would have to, I'm not well versed on it, to be honest with you, so I don't want to mislead, but I know the beaches are definitely open for business, which is good.
I mean, I looked last week, and as of last week, New Hampshire and Maine and Rhode Island, because I also love it up there, they all had the 2-week quarantine. But things are changing pretty quickly right now, so fingers crossed, you know, to be able to do it and just to get up there and, you know, get some waves and go on paddle on what's that, Cuddy Creek up there in Kittery?
Chauncey Creek.
Chauncey Creek, right? And stop for a lobster roll on the way.
Yeah, absolutely. I have a good friend, actually, I think he's in here. Hey, Neil, wake up. I say that because he tends to nod off sometimes. I said I would do that tonight just to prod him. But he actually lives right next to Chauncey Creek Lobster.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I love it over there. And that beach, is that Surfer's Point at the end of the road? It's beautiful. That whole area is stunning.
it really
Yeah.
is.
I love it. And the parks, and yeah, I literally, I cannot wait to get back up there. That's the place I go to completely decompress. And after all of this, it'd be really nice just to kick back for a little bit. Like I said, see my friend Marta and, a bunch of the gang from up there. So much good stuff. We're so lucky, Chris, right? We're surrounded by some of the best humans who just happen to gather near the water.
It really is. I mean, just from doing this whole paddle chat, I mean, connecting with you, connecting with Lily from MTI, there's just so many great people, Jonathan from Ski and Sport, Jeremy Vane, just actually talking. It's just really cool. What we have is definitely special. And I mean, I appreciate everyone talking to the little paddleboard club in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. So it's definitely cool.
It's cool. But like I said, like what you're doing is something really special, and people need to know about it. So, so I mean it when I say, like, tell me how it goes with your opening, and because we all, we want to get on the water, and most people, I mean, I think I might be the, one of the few here. I love paddling by myself. I just do. But most people want to get together. So when you offer a container where people can safely paddle together, that's really special, and you're not asking for much, right? You have some dues and fees, and that's it.
Yeah, I mean, we try and keep the barrier really low. Our membership for a year is $50. It's like, okay. I mean,
I'm in. That's awesome.
I mean, literally, I think we were kind of kidding around yesterday. It's like, if I break even, I'm like, oh my God, thank you. It's like, I end up writing a check to go paddleboard, but you know what? It's making, I look at the success stories. I have, Allison and Nancy, two women that met through the paddleboard club that they've been going on surf trips to Tortola, and just the bonds that have been created. I just take that as like, that's just cool. And if that's what makes people happy, it's worth the price of admission.
I totally hear you on that one. Yeah. I mean, when I do a couple of retreats usually during the course of the year, and I always say that, people come as strangers and then we leave as family, and that's just the truth. Suddenly these are the people in your life, like your circle of friends just expand because of that time together. We're lucky. We're the lucky ones. We've discovered this thing. We live in proximity to the water, and and if you're crazy enough to want to do it 12 months out of the year.
Yep.
Yeah, it's pretty fun. And I just want to say that to your group too. Like, anybody comes this way, right? If anybody comes this way, give me a shout. Like, let me know if you're in town, and if I'm free. I mean, I'm working a lot during the week, but I usually surf dawn in the morning, and after work in the afternoon. So let me know, and I'd love to get on the water with some of you guys.
Yeah. And like I said, I get down to Jersey quite often to see family, so I will definitely make a swing by.
Yeah, you should, because then you could just take the ferry.
Right.
You drive up, right? We could surf, and then you just jump on the ferry to New London, and you're home in a couple of hours. That's down. I'm telling you, it's the best way to travel. Yeah. That ferry just cuts off so much driving time. It's unbelievable. Yep.
We have one here, Lori. We had the opportunity to paddle out last week with Cape Ann surfers at Good Harbor Beach in Gloucester. Know them well. For a solidarity paddle out in unity with BLM, Black Lives Matter. And it was an amazing experience. Wondering either of you guys had a chance to participate in something like that. I'll let you speak first. And
sure. So first, I just want to give a shout out to Cape Ann Sup, because they're amazing. I'm so glad to hear that, and I'm not surprised in the least that they pulled something together, because they have that kind of heart and soul to do that. We had a paddle out here in Montauk for Black Lives Matter. It was pulled together by Black Girls Surf,
and it was just off of Ditch Plains, just a really peaceful paddle out. I was not able to make it to that event. It was literally, the magazine was going to the printer, so I just wasn't able to make it. But I feel like I've seen enough photos and experiences and listened to the experiences of it that I know how powerful it was. And I just do want to put a shout out that personally, for myself, like I have heard, I've heard the cry of what's happening, with regard to the Black Lives Matter movement. And I'm not ready to speak about it yet, but Stand-Up Journal is making a very structural paradigm shift, which I'm super excited about. That is going to be literally in honor of everything that's been going on over the last several weeks, So anyway, just thank you for bringing that up, because it is so special. The paddle outs are peaceful protests in the best kind. So what about you, Chris? Did you get a chance to go on one?
Unfortunately, they had one in Long Sands in New York, Maine last week, and I could not make that one. However, with the same group, my friends here at New Hampshire Surf Rider are actually working to put one together. They just posted something on their Facebook today, I believe. They're in a process of putting something together to organize something. So, Lori, keep an eye out. Probably, I would imagine those guys will probably do something with maybe Dave Cropper, Cinnamon Rainbows, or Ryan and the guys at Summer Sessions, or pretty much everybody. I would imagine it will probably take place at the Wall, but that's hypothetical. But keep an eye out.
Right. Lots of ways to participate, that's for sure. Yeah.
So just looking at the time, I know we kept you a full hour, which amazing. It's been it's been a great conversation. I could sit here for another 3 hours and we could just talk.
Yeah, I know, but we can do that another day. Like as soon as these restrictions lift, I'm coming, we're paddling, we're talking. Yeah. And then we'll do that excursion that I told you about if you ever want to come this way.
Yes, and we're comparing notes on our excursions that we're planning. But I just kind of leave it out to put question out to any of the attendees. If you have any questions, if you have a minute or two, just see if anyone has any additional questions. Otherwise, we can call it. Kind of give it a minute.
And what about the giveaway? Don't forget about that.
Oh yeah, we should do a giveaway.
Do the giveaway.
Yeah, let's see. Hold on 1 second.
He's gonna go get the giveaway.
All right, I'm back. So yeah, we're gonna give away Seacoast Paddleboard Club.
That is gorgeous.
Our friends from Jetty, they're just amazing. The guys at Jetty have been supporting us for 7 years now. They're just awesome. And we got some stickers.
Awesome.
And you can't go wrong with a bar of wax.
Right. Everybody needs another bar of wax.
Yeah, just,
And you're gonna get not this copy, but the summer issue of Stand-Up Journal. When that comes, that's gonna be part of the giveaway as well. Yeah.
So the question is, we didn't plan this ahead of time, but how do you want to give it away?
Oh, I don't. How do you usually do it?
I have an idea. Let's just this is like live TV right now. How about pick a number between 1 and 20, the first one to type in the number we're thinking of, and I'll text you. All right, I'm thinking of a number between 1 and 25. The first one to get it.
Anybody?
No, not yet. We need the Jeopardy theme song here, really.
I know. See, I'm an English teacher. I would have made them I would have made them sing a song or recite a poem.
No. Oh, wow. They're coming in fast and furious right now. Oh, wow.
That's good.
Oh, Becca.
Becca.
Becca got it. So, yeah, Becca got it. I actually know of Becca and know Becca very well. So it's coming your way, Becca.
Congratulations. Yeah, that's
awesome.
awesome.
That's awesome. Evelyn, thank you so much. It's been great.
Chris, you're a gem. You're a gem. I'm so glad that we had a chance to connect, and I got to sort of sit amongst the crew. You know, I don't get to see everybody, but I feel them. You know, and it just makes me want to get up there so much more. You know, I have a feeling it's going to be sooner than later. I'm one of those people. I tend to I'm very, 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 very patient, and then I'm just not. You know, so
right. Exactly. I'm with you. So, yeah, let's keep in touch. Obviously, we will. And
cool. I would love it.
there.
Yep. And then, you know, once again, I just, you know, anybody reach out, give me a shout, let me know what you're doing. Let me know what I'm doing that I could do better. You know, the magazine is literally a community project, and everybody's a part of that, you know, so don't be shy, right?
That's
Editor
great.
at Stand-Up Journal, and I'd really love to hear from everybody.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, again, and thanks everyone for tuning in and spending. We're going to continue probably paddle chats. I think we're going to take next week off, probably go paddling. But keep an eye out on the horizon for additional events. And I mean, for those that don't follow Stand Up Journal on Instagram or Facebook, I would encourage you to do that. And
the website.
And the website, obviously, yes. And same thing with Stand Up or Seacoast Paddleboard Club. You can find us on Instagram and Facebook. But again, thanks again, Evelyn. And thanks to everyone. Have a good night.
Thanks, Chris.
See ya.
Bye, everybody.